Hello and welcome to the workshop on how to make your Odoo website perform better in search engine result page. My name is Ivana and I'm an Odoo consultant at Port Cities, the best Odoo partner in the APAC region and Odoo Gold partner since year 2014. Almost every business needs an online presentation, be it a website. Website has been part of Odoo since version 6, and now in version 14 and 15, it went through a big amount of improvements, mostly in terms of the design, user-friendliness, and how cool it looks. But the success of the website is not measured in how cool and stunning the design is, but it is measured in how many conversions it can bring, be it purchases in your e-commerce, be it contact forms filled, be it e-books downloaded, and so on and so on. And for this, we need to make sure that our website appears in Google search engine result page. So let's look together how we can improve your website performance. Let's start with some basic information. SERP, or search engine result page, is basically a list of the websites which are the most relevant for your search query. And let's step into your shoes. If you are looking for some information, you usually are checking just the first, second, third result. You are never scrolling down too much or going to page 2, 3, 4. Why? Because we want all the information at the reach of our fingertips. And let's look at some statistics which is actually supporting the importance of SERP. More than 80% of Americans actually visited Google in October 2020. More than 80% of population. On the other hand, more than 90% of all websites don't get any traffic from Google at all. Almost 5% get only 10 or less visitors for their website from Google. What does it mean? All the traffic from Google is basically split between 4% of all the websites. And I believe you want your websites to be amongst those 4%. So let's look at it, how we can make it happen. How does Google decide which page is going to appear first in the result page? Google has its own algorithm, which is always learning and which is always bringing user in the center of all the experience. Their main goal is to bring the most relevant results to their searchers, their users, to make sure they find the information they are looking for. And how does Google assess which page is good enough and which one is not? There are two main criteria how Google knows. First one is the website needs to be equitable, and the second one is the content needs to be relevant. Firstly, we need to understand the differences between equality and equity. Equality is giving the same opportunities to all the people, but reaching a different outcome. Equity is giving different opportunities to different people, making sure all of them reach the desired outcome. Let's go into an example which is a little bit more in our industry. Imagine you have an e-commerce website. Would you rather be aiming for equality, meaning only some of the users are going to be able to make a purchase, to buy goods? Or are you rather trying to make your website equitable, which means that all of the users are going to be able to make a purchase because you give them different opportunities? I believe when it comes to sales, you will definitely rather want the second option to make sure more users, more customers can make a purchase. There are three main pillars on how to make your website more equitable. The first one is website page speed. Second one is mobile optimization for different devices. And third one is thinking about the users with different disabilities. Let's break it down one by one. Website page speed is a metric which tells you how fast does it take to load the content of your page and how long does it take for your website to become interactive for the user. Put yourself in the shoes of the user. You definitely don't like waiting for 10-15 seconds until the content which you are looking for is actually loaded. And if you are on the mobile phone, your patience is even shorter. A good case practice is to make your page speed lower than 2 seconds. It means that all the content of the page should be loaded under 2 seconds. And why should we be caring about this page speed? First of all, There are users who have worse internet connection, which means that they might be waiting for a very long time until your page is loaded. So if the general and the base page speed is low, it is going to be lower for them also on the bad internet connection. And the second one, well, you definitely want to make sure that your bounce rate is as low as possible. Bounce rate is actually amount of users who just come to your page and then they leave directly from there without even going to any other place in your website. Finally, let's look at how we can make your page speed as low as possible with Odoo. First tip is to make sure that you optimize your images. Make sure that you convert them into WebP format to make sure that they are smaller and that they load faster. And actually, you can be even using the Odoo built-in optimization tool for the pictures. I bet you are already using Google Analytics anyway, which are collecting the anonymized data on how the visitors are behaving on your website. But Odoo also has this feature which allows you to see which user visited which page or which product when in the time. It can be really useful, but if you are not using it, it is making your website much slower to load. Why? Because every visit is actually creating a new record in your database and it is just making it bigger and bigger. And if you are not using it, it's just not worth it. That you have enough workers on your server. That in case you are actually delivering content for more markets in different locations, that you are considering a CDN, content delivery network. Make sure that you always know the purpose of each custom JavaScript which you are creating, because it is also making your website a little bit slower to load. The second point, how to make your website more equitable, is the mobile optimization. In 2021, more than 55% of all users of the internet are actually coming from the mobile device. And it's not going to be different for your website. Make sure that it works well on mobile phone, on tablets, and on the desktops. There are 3 main tips how to make sure that your website is optimized for mobile devices. First one of them is local SEO. It is getting more and more popular in 2021, and people are using search queries such as Italian restaurant next to me or shoe shop nearby more often and more often. Make sure that you include on your website also your location to make sure that the people who are nearby can find you easily. Second tip, how to improve your mobile optimization, is dynamic serving of the content. You can have slightly different content on your desktop version of the website and slightly different content on the mobile version. Not all the pictures are going to look the same, not all the building blocks are going to look good on either of those devices. So make sure that you prepare one version for the desktop and one version for the mobile. The third tip is mobile first. Even if you have perfectly optimized website for desktops, it doesn't mean that you are going to score the best positions in Google. Why? Because in 2021, Google actually switched and it is ordering the search results based on how well they are optimized for mobile, not for the desktop. So make sure that you follow the best case practices in optimizing the website for the mobile phones. The last point, which you should always consider when building and optimizing your website, is thinking about disabilities. There are more than 20% of all people who are suffering from some kind of disability, be it a temporary, be it a permanent, or a situational. An example of permanent disability is when someone, for example, loses their sight. They become blind and their sight is unfortunately never coming back. An example of temporary disability is if someone, for example, goes for an eye surgery, laser eye surgery. They are going to lose sight for a couple of days, they are going to see blurry, they will not be able to focus that well, but their sight is going to come back and they don't need to live with this disability for a very long time. And the third type of disability is situational disability. Imagine you are a driver of a car and you are driving 5 kids behind your back. They are going to talk, scream, play, and your concentration on the road is definitely not going to be as good as if you were driving an empty car. The important thing is, don't forget about these kind of users. They are also very relevant for you. They can buy your products, they can buy your services, unless they are stopped in their user journey because you were not counting with their needs before. As you saw, there are many different kinds of disabilities, and it does not mean that the user needs to be permanently blind or deaf to be considered disabled. They just don't need to have enough time or enough attention, but you still want them to make a conversion, to make a purchase. Give them the options. And of course, I'm going to give you 3 tips how you can focus better on people with disabilities. The first tip is always add alt descriptions to your pictures. Alt descriptions are basically hidden text fields which are loaded together with your picture. In case someone has a slow internet and they cannot load a picture, they will at least see the text. Or another use case is someone is really blind and they cannot see, and they are using specialized software to read your website for them. The website is also going to read this alt description of the picture. Make sure you always have them there. It's not only good for the users, but search engine is going to appreciate it as well, and you are going to be able to find yourself in images.google.com search as well. The second tip is to use structured text. Make sure that you are clearly using heading 1, 2, 3 to make sure that the structure of your text is clear and that the hierarchy is recorded very well in there. Last but not least, make sure that your website is accessible in multiple different languages. In case you are not only targeting one audience, make sure that they are going to have the content in their own language. So just to sum up, to make your website more equitable, don't forget our 3 main topics. First one, make sure that your page loading speed is as fast as possible. Second, make sure that you optimize your website for different devices, be it tablets, be it mobile phones. And third, make sure you think about people with different types of disabilities. As I mentioned earlier, the second big criterion how Google assesses whether it should show your website in the search engine result page is the relevance of its content. Not only the format, which we covered in the equitable website, but also what you are presenting to your visitors. And we always need to keep in mind that there is this kind of content which you want your visitors to read and see. Then there is the content which your visitors are looking for, and the relevance is if you manage to find the middle ground, the content you want to present and the content your visitors are interested in. That is relevant content. Google bots are crawling every single page on your website, so you should better make sure that they are well optimized and that the content is relevant, meaning that both you want to present it and your visitors are looking for that content. Let's look at the specific tips, what you can do. Tip number 1 is make sure you make a very good keyword research. Learn what people are looking for. Learn what people are searching for. Use Google Search Console. Use Google Keyword Planner to understand what your audiences are really interested in. And then prepare your content based on this information. Tip number 2. Prepare very good titles and meta descriptions. Titles and meta descriptions are those small pieces of text which are seen when someone is making a search query in Google. That is the very short text based on which the visitor is actually deciding whether your website is the right one or he should scroll down and choose another one. And tip number 3, make your website structure logical and intuitive. Firstly, you want users not to get lost in your website, but second, you also want Google to understand the structure so it can show a bigger and better breakdown of the pages on your website in the Google search engine result page. And with this being said, I have just one more message for you. Always remember, each website is unique. Each website has different goals. Each website has different purpose. So one website, which is, let's say, a B2C e-commerce, will look completely differently as a B2B lead generation, lead magnet website. And that is completely okay. It is how it is supposed to be. But we just always need to consider your specific goals from the website and how they are going to transform into very specific plan of optimization of your website. And that is actually the very end of my workshop. I hope you found it useful, I hope you liked it, and I hope you are going to join the questions and answer session, which starts right after this video is finished. My name is Ivana, I'm an Odoo consultant at Port Cities, and do not hesitate to add me on LinkedIn or message me if I can help you anyhow. Have a great day.
Hello, everyone. So thank you, Ivana, for this great presentation. So we have Ivana here live for you guys. So I see a couple of people in the chat, Shift Mobile. I see Emil, Elion. Thank you for your questions. So we're going to talk about a little bit more of, the background. Ivana, tell us about a little bit more about your background. I know you've been working with Odoo a lot of time. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Hey guys, so I've been working with Odoo actually for almost the last 4 years, and I've been mostly focusing on the marketing side of Odoo and the sales side of Odoo. So, for example, marketing automation, website, e-commerce, CRM, and I'm oriented more to this side. And I've seen the product develop so much all over these years, so I'm really excited to see what's the direction and how we are moving forward.
Amazing, amazing. So tell us a little bit more of a day to day. Exactly, what does it look for Ivana?
Yeah, my daily work, it is kind of splitted because on one hand I'm handling the marketing team at Port City, so I'm managing my
Wow.
team.
Okay.
We are basically improving our website. We are doing our own YouTube channel, so that is a lot of fun, and you guys can watch us. It's definitely some nice information. But on the other side, I'm helping our customers to implement Odoo for
Okay.
mostly e-commerce businesses, both B2C commerces, B2B commerces, websites. So I'm trying to be there on the automation or marketing side to help them not to spend too much time doing everything manually, but rather automate and make it very nice looking for the customers as well.
Amazing, amazing. So you're splitting a little bit on the, as you said, implementation a little bit, and helping the company, helping the business
Mhm.
grow on itself. So when you're implementing, I know you have a lot of knowledge about Odoo website. You know a lot of, can you help us or give us I don't know, tips, tricks, or maybe tools we might not know as new users?
Mhm. Definitely, it is. Yeah. First of all, please try to go over my talk one more time, yeah, because there's a lot of tips on the really base Odoo features, which will make like 80% of the work done. It's like the 80-20 rule.
Okay.
20% of time you invest, 80% of results you get. So things like titles, meta descriptions, using the headings, those like basics. But on the other hand, you always need to make sure you are tracking the performance well, such as implementing the Google Analytics code into your website to see
Okay.
anonymized data, how your visitors are actually acting on the website. But also from our own experience, I can recommend Mouseflow or Hotjar, which are very nice tools, which are actually recording the screen of your visitors, so you see exactly how they
Okay.
behave. It is making you heat maps, so you can see, for example, where they are clicking, where they are not clicking, what they see, what they scroll through. And for example, even on our website, it helped us to discover that, let's say, some people were trying to click some icons and they were not clickable. So we were like, aha, we need to change this. We
Uh,
added the videos, pop-ups, and it started to be more interactive. So really watch how your users are actually using the website, and these tools can help you understand them.
Amazing, amazing, perfect. So I do have a couple of questions here in the chat. Let's see, there's a couple of version 15 questions, and as you know, guys, right now we are having all these talks, all this new information. So a lot of the information or a lot of the questions that you might have right now for the we exactly don't know. We have to wait for the keynote. We have to wait for a little bit to be released so we can do a little bit more testing. But at least I see one from Mr. Ernst Tomas. he says how to optimize when you have a video on your homepage.
Mhm. Definitely, that's a good question because it is much more interactive, much more cool if you have a video instead of a picture. And what Odoo is doing actually is that you are not even uploading the video to your own server or to Odoo SH or wherever you are having your website hosted, but you are linking only the YouTube or Vimeo links. So that is one thing, is that
Okay.
usually YouTube has pretty well covered the CD and the delivery of the content, but also try to make sure that your video is as small as possible even on the YouTube. Yeah, so it is more like optimization how big the video is. That's the only option how you can actually make it happen in the base Odoo, but it is possible. Yeah, you just need to make sure it is not like super huge, because then it will be causing really long load times for your website. Google page speed will not like you. It means that you will not really score the top positions in the SERP.
That is a really I didn't know that exactly, that it will be taking that heavily into consideration. So for, I know there are websites that you can test like how fast, but
Mhm.
maybe you know the, like the standard, or do you know the metrics, like if it loads below this it's good, if it loads, what would be a good metric?
I mean, the amazing result would be under 2 seconds, but it is sometimes impossible to get, because depending where you are hosting your website, in which country you are, sometimes the delivery of the content does not need to be that fast. Myself, I was living in Asia for some time, and sometimes the internet honestly really sucked. So we needed to make sure that all the pictures were super small and that we had very good content delivery network, which is very important part if you are serving more different markets. And the second thing, if I looked all over any websites, usually they have amazingly nice but huge pictures in there, pictures which you never will need for your website like in such a resolution. So really optimize the pictures. Sometimes it
Okay.
will make a couple of megabytes to even cut it. So it's really the one of the most important things, I would say.
Amazing, perfect. So I see that Elion says this will be my first website creation for a client using Odoo. Great tips today. So thank you, Ivana, for the tips.
Yeah,
Um,
you're very welcome.
let's see. Oh, so is there a limit of the number? Ruben Navas says, is there a limit of the number of websites a database could have? I don't know if you know this exactly.
uh, like easy answer is there is no limit,
Okay,
because since
easy.
version 12 multi-website, you can have as many websites as you want. But where we need to pay more attention is what kind of hosting you are having, because all of the website visitors are basically public users or portal users. Whether they are like registered and logged in, they are portal users and they can interact somehow with your website, or if they are just not registered, they are public users. These guys who are visiting your website, they are causing the server work a little bit more, because the server needs to serve the content. So it really depends on how many people the websites are going to serve the content to, and whether they are interactive. So for example, whether they are e-commerce websites or not. So you can chat later with me and I can advise you, meaning like how many websites you are going to have and what kind of hosting you need for that, how many workers on Odoo SH, or if you have your own hosting. But from the technical point of view, there is no limitation on Odoo side.
Right. There will be some optimization to be done and a lot of testing, so so you don't overload the
Making sure
service.
you have good enough hardware. Yeah, that's the thing which we need to make sure of.
Okay, perfect. So Greg, he says, let's see, does Google, Greg Smith, does Google give advantage for using their WebP file format over JP or PNG? I don't know. This is maybe a technical
If I
question.
believe from 2020 it does. I would need to
Okay.
double check that. I'm almost sure that it does.
Oh, it does. Okay. So for some of us that are not that technical, can you explain maybe the difference a little bit, just in a short time?
It's just the format of the picture, that if you have a picture in JPEG, it's usually a photograph. If you have a PNG, it might
Okay.
be some illustration. And WebP is a new generation of how the images are basically saved and stored.
Oh, so
It's, I would
it's
say,
more
the human. translation of the technical term.
Exactly, the human. Thank you for letting us know. So I see a lot more questions, but unfortunately we're running a little bit short on time. Can you tell us your direct email, maybe, if you want to share that with us?
Definitely, it's ivana@portcities.vn.
Perfect. So there you go, guys. If you want to know anything about more this topic or reach out to Ivana, that's the direct link. Maybe we can add it here in the comments below. But thank you so much, Ivana, for the time and the presentation. And thank you, guys.
You're very welcome. And I think we have the extended questions and answers. So let's meet there.
There you go. Thank you so much.